conclusione in rete, Andrea Pirlo, un gol pazzesco. Del Piero, Alex, Del Piero. Pogba, rete, un gol incredibile, Pogba fa esplodere lo Juventus Stadium.
Welcome all to episode 315 of the Turin Giants podcast. My name is Zach. I am joined by Frederic and Damiano to break down the Dortmund match that just finished 4-4 at home. And boy, was it crazy. Gentlemen, have you been able to come down from that madness yet, or are you still processing what we just witnessed?
I'm still processing that.
Well,
my erection's gone.
His erection's gone, and the amount of cigarettes smoked has increased exponentially. And like I want to get right into it. So we'll get the housekeeping matters out of the way. Turin Giants on Instagram, at Turin Giants Official on YouTube. We record all of our episodes with video, so you can tune into us on YouTube or Spotify video if you'd like. As well, and you can get some more information on turingiants.com, and most of our engagement is through Instagram at Turin Giants or the Scoop Juve on Instagram. Let's get into this game, okay? Midweek, or I mean on the weekend, you have a come from behind 4-3 victory at home against Inter. And then midweek in the Champions League, you have a 4-4 come from behind draw against Dortmund, scoring a lot of goals, conceding a lot of goals. And I want to just start with this, and I'll kick it to you first, Frederic. 4-4 at home in the Champions League. Are you happy with this result?
If I was a casual viewer just looking to catch a nice footy game, I'd be. But at this point, I'm not, because it should have and could have been so much more. And we were overwhelmed with euphoria last Saturday, rightly so, because the way we won and the importance of that game is not to be undervalued. But today I felt like it was a bit of a cheap copy. It was the Temu copy of the game of Saturday, with the same mistakes, the same errors, and the lack of that result, because we went away with 3 points. It could have been 1 point last Saturday even. I feel we dropped the ball on this one. And once again, I voiced my concerns about Tudor, as did Uzak during our last pod. And at the risk of sounding repetitive, I have to do the same. So I'm not happy. This should be 3 points all the way. This is not a legendary Dortmund side. This is a Dortmund side that struggles. This is Dortmund side that, for me, is the weakest Dortmund side I've seen the last decade. And we should have come clean with a win out the gates in our first Champions League game. And we're making it a bit more difficult for ourselves now. So, I could be happier than I am right now.
Damiano, do you agree?
I mean, to an extent, yes, but I also see it like we could have walked away with no points too. Luckily, we did come through at the end to take that draw. But that first half, I mean, Dortmund had no shots on goal, but they still looked more like they had more emph, they had more energy, more. They were pushing forward more. They were possessing more. They looked better than us. We looked lost. So I could be, I would be happier with a win. But the fact we were down 4-2 and we got the draw, I'm satisfied to an extent again.
Do you think at all, Damiano, that there was a hangover effect after the Inter game entering this one?
Could have been. I mean, it looked like it to an extent. Yeah, because it's not, we didn't come out with fire. We came out maybe even tired, but we just didn't come out with a lot of energy. Besides the Thuram and a couple, the Openda shot on goal, we only had 2 shots on goal, but Dortmund looked more threatening than we did. in my opinion.
I think I'll make it, I guess, 2.5 because Damiano's not sure how upset he is, but I'm not happy like Frederic. I think this game was for the taking, and I think we hurt ourselves more than Dortmund necessarily imposed their will, and it's hard to walk away with. Yes, are we considering the circumstances of being down 4-2 in extra time? Am I happy we got a draw? Yes, but looking holistically at this game, it was there for the taking, and the failure for us to execute and impose our will on a game that was there for the taking, in my opinion, is a weakness, and it needs to be improved upon. So we have 2.5 unhappy people with the 4-4 draw, but to score 4 goals, especially to come back down 4-2 in extra time, a lot has to go right. And so we're going to keep this episode pretty simple. The game just ended. We're going to talk about what went well, talk about the good stuff first, and then we're going to talk about what so clearly did not from a tactical and an individual performance standpoint. So let's start with what went well. Frederic, you talked about Tudor's mentality change with this Juventus relative to Motta's last year. We once again see a team that refuses to give up. Okay, talk us through how you were feeling in those closing moments and the importance of Tudor in ensuring this team was still focused come the extra time down 2 goals.
Well, it's easy. He goes into rampage mode when we're behind. I mean, there's no tactical overview to be had here. He just throws in whatever he has offensively and does the Hail Mary, and it seems to work out for us due to the fact also that our players seem to give it their all, shake off whatever nerves they have that unsettle them during the game, and just give it everything they got. And we were blessed today with a person who I owe an apology, Dusan Vlahovic. I've been very critical of him, but today he was the man of the match, and it irks me a bit to see that Tudor starts his games plain and simple wrongly, tries to make amends throughout the game, and all credits to him for switching up a bit earlier today. But then he throws whatever he has on the pitch, even a not match fit Segrova, who did fine, by the way, for the couple of minutes that he had. And we just find, the back of the net. But you have to question not the mentality of the team, but the mentality of Tudor. Why does this happen like 2 nights in a row? Where were you last Saturday? Did you not learn from those mistakes? Did you not see what happened? Did you not see that we won down to, Azic shooting a ball from out of his own garden and hitting the back of the net? I mean, in all fairness, that was pure luck. As it was pure luck today, again, because we were maybe the better team, but at no point we controlled the game. At no point we made it feel as if we were in total control of the game and we decide the flow of the game. And that is something that irritates me. And like I said, I'm happy with the point to an extent, but there's a lot to improve upon.
Mr. Negative Nancy here did not get the memo.
Sorry.
We're starting with the positives, Federic.
Yeah, I mean,
starting with the
the
positives.
Fino alla fine attitude is there.
Yes.
We never say die.
There
We
we
always
go.
full steam ahead.
Rah, rah.
We just can't lose. We have the stadium that's supporting us. We have the players that no, but it has to be said. I mean, the players amongst themselves, you could see they were hyping each other up. Even Dusan with that third goal, you think all is lost. He scores beautiful third goal, by the way, but he still has that belief. He still, runs to the center of the pitch, tells everybody to get the fuck up, and we fire each other up. And that means that we have a very good group feeling in this group. Whereas last year, we were all individuals. We were lacking that identity. We were lacking that leadership that we talked about so often. It feels that has come back a bit more. Is it enough? For now, I'd say no, being the negative Nancy that I am.
There he goes
Sorry,
again.
Zach.
No,
Sorry,
I'm cutting
Zach.
you up. Negative Nancy's got to wait like 15 minutes. We'll get there.
It was our mentality that won the game.
Now,
I mean, made sure that we drew the game, to be honest.
Yeah. Now, Damiano, Frederic says he's got to apologize to Dusan, but and let's be real, Dusan's 2 goals and 1 assist was the difference maker in this game. But the Dusan we saw in this game was not the Dusan that we've been seeing play for Juventus, is it?
Definitely true on that, because I think Dusan off the bench seems to play better, even though it's a pretty hefty off the bench, like a hefty sum for an off the bench player. But he does seem to play different than when he starts the matches. And Dusan took some notes, I think, from Openda with the pressing. Like I was saying earlier, he was or in our group chat, he actually applied pressure. He wanted, I don't know if it was Adzic who got him in the mode on Saturday or what, but Dusan was ready to play today. Like, he came on with energy and he wanted to prove us wrong, and he sure did.
There was an energy, a drive, and aggression to his game that I have not seen since the Coppa Italia final, whatever, well over a year ago. And when he scores that third goal, and you see him shouting and yelling at everybody, Dortmund players and Juventus players alike, and then you see us win the ball in the middle of the pitch, and you see him sprinting down the near sideline to get the ball, calling for it, and then delivering that pinpoint cross. I mean, that is a Dusan that, like I said,
where did that come from?
Since the Coppa Italia final. But that's the diff. I think that taps into what Frederic was saying, though, right? Damiano is like, that is the embodiment of that fino alla fine attitude that is Juventus. And I think it stems from Tudor, simply because absent Tudor, insert Motta, we didn't really see that much last year, did we?
No, and when we went down, we thought, last year I definitely thought we're up, it's 1-0, or we're down by we're down by 2 goals in the 90th minute. There's no way we're coming back. It's done for sure. Under Motta, even under Allegri, I still felt kind of the same way. It took, the second Allegri, not the first one, but it's been a while since I felt like we actually could come back. We're believing in it now.
So, Frederic, the final 2 goals, one was an assist from Kalulu, our right-sided center back. The other one was a goal from our left-sided center back. What the heck were they doing that far up the pitch? What was this a reflection of tactics? Was this a reflection of desire? What was your interpretation of their positioning and therefore their involvement in bringing us level?
For me, it was a combination of both, because at that point, it doesn't matter if you lose 4-3 or 5-3 at that point, and you just give it your all. You're sparked up by the third Dusan goal, and you could see our good friend Tudor yelling everybody to just move along and give it everything. And in that sense, for me, from a tactical standpoint, if there's a lot to be talked about tactically, I think our defenders are the ones in these type of games that make the fewest kilometers or travel the fewest distance across the pitch, meaning they have a bit more oomph in their spirit. So logically, they're the ones that try to, move forward, just let their man be, and, just go out with a Hail Mary and see what happens. And it worked out very, very well. I think this is notably also, and once again, I've said it the last podcast again, kudos to Kelly, because his positioning at that goal, at the equalizer, was fabulous. I think he was one of the only Juventus players in that box. He positioned himself perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
He heads the ball perfectly. We often talked about his technical ability or the lack of, but he does that beautifully. And these Hail Marys, I love them. They make for nice games, but it's not going to be every game like this. So we'll get to that when I turn on full negative Nancy mode. But
yeah.
I love the fact that we as a team have that how shall I put it, that ability to bounce back, even with those defenders. Even you've seen it in the Inter game as well. Bremer with the assist, Kelly with the goal, two center
Mhm.
backs.
Mhm.
So it's not a fluke. It's something that's been studied, I think, on training, and as a sort of a countermeasure for when we encounter difficulties of tearing defenses wide open, because you don't expect a Bremer to pop up in your box, give the assist that he does. You don't expect Kelly to be there in the 90, what was it, third minute to head that ball into the back of the net.
96th minute.
96 even.
I mean,
So
like the last minute of the game. But you never want to be in a position to have to require this. What I keep referring to is the fino alla fine attitude. You don't want it because that means you're not winning. But I guess we're gonna just slightly bring this topic to a close by say Damiano. It's in 2 games now. Juventus has overcome adversity. 3-2 down late against Inter, 4-2 down after the 90th minute against Dortmund, and come back. What could this mean to a team from a self-belief standpoint as they move forward? Despite the fact that we said that we're not happy about the draw and we've conceded 7 goals in 2 games, what can they take about from this perseverance as they move forward? Is this something that's just a game, maybe the next game that gives them a boost, or is this something that could really catalyze a season-long or a series of game-long mentality shift?
Well, I think that's the next game is going to be crucial. But I think that the team's believing in what Tudor is bringing to the table. He's bringing that, the Juventus DNA to the table here, and they're buying into it. And for what difference from this year and last year is that this year they're playing for the badge. They're playing for Juventus. They're not, last year it was like they didn't care. It was not a big deal. These are whatever. But with under Motta, but Tudor's really shown them, hey, you're on this team. This is what it means, and we fight till the end. I just, yeah. So I think it's it's the next game's going to kind of Verona's going to be we got to win that. It's a must win. There's no draw in that one. That will be us all time.
We cannot move forward with from the positives without mentioning our other key player today. A key player I think we mention every game. Kenan Yildiz is something special, Frederic, isn't he?
I was a bit skeptical about Yildiz in the beginning. I saw him in Next Gen a couple of times, and you could see that he had something special. The thing I questioned was his consistency and his mentality overall, because more than often in today's football, we see young stars rising, and to a certain extent, they just give up or they feel that they've arrived at a certain place, and then that fire, that consistency, that sacrifice goes missing a bit. And the more I look at Kenan, the more he gets that fire, the more he gets that consistency, the more he gets that passion, the more he gets that love for Juventus. And today was the first time that Kenan genuinely reminded me of Del Piero, not just with that strike, but also being able to give like a clean cut assist for Dusan, where if you pause the replay, you could see that both Kenan and Dusan, they slow down a bit in order for that pass to give it the proper weight, the proper speed, whatever. Dusan gets to position his body a bit more better in order to control the ball better. I mean, these are all signs of a player that can achieve greatness in my opinion. And the fact that he was poor, and we have to state it like it is, Kenan was not in the game up until his goal. He wasn't very decisive. And then he comes out sparking from all cylinders, meaning he's mentally very strong, because a player feels when he's not in the game, and it can get in your head and you can feel like crap and not try or do the things that you are used to trying or doing, not be confident enough to give that a go. But that doesn't bother Kenan at all. He's the player that can decide a game at in a millisecond. Whenever he decides to, he can just switch on, and that was a quality Del Piero also had. You could give him a free kick. You haven't seen him all game, and he could just paint the ball into the top corner, and he's off. And before you know it, he's given out another assist. He's putting another ball back in the back of the net. I see similarities. The thing that we need to do now, and we need to be very careful of, is that we don't become Kenan dependent. because if we lose all creativity, all threats, and all attacking flow, when Kenan decides not to show up or he just doesn't for some reason, then we need somebody or team effort to pull that back. But for the love of God, if you can hear me, Kamoli, I know you watch us a lot because you value our opinion. Um, just give him like a contract for life. Do whatever. Sell some property. Call Alcon. I don't know what's possible. I'm sure you guys can make it happen. Like $1 billion clause or something like that. Just do something, because this kid is special. And I repeat what I said last time. If we can build a more qualitative side around him, and we can surround him with players that can provide quality, then I mean we have literal gold on our hands. Well done, Kenan.
So this marks, by the way, 6 goal contributions in 4 games to start Yildiz's season. But in both this game and the Inter game in the first half, Yildiz only would get on the ball close to the touchline. Damiano, did you interpret that as his attempt to just see the ball, or do you think that's a tactical thing where Tudor has him shifting out wide a lot?
I just think we just didn't get the ball through the middle as much. I think that kind of we weren't getting. I mean, up when we got upfield, we didn't really get up. We weren't in Dortmund's. I mean, like we weren't in Dortmund's zone that much. And from what I recall, I don't think. I think it was just the fact of lack of offense.
Because as soon as he gets the ball in the middle of the pitch against Inter, the first time he got the ball in the middle of the pitch, he turns around, he scores that beautiful goal from outside the box. He starts getting more involved in the middle of the pitch, or at least in a little bit of space today. Goal and assist come out of it. And I think that's something, the positioning of Yildiz, I think is at least so far this year, directly proportional to his contribution to our team. Positively when he's on the ball, negatively when he's not. Frederick, you're kind of shaking. You were kind of shaking your head.
I was just thinking. I had a little brain fart. I was thinking, if you put Yildiz in front of our midfield, automatically you make our midfield a bit stronger. I think we've been lacking last couple of games midfield wise. We'll get to that in a short few. But if you have Yildiz being the bridge between our further strikers, or our central strikers, and our midfield, then you just create that balance a lot more. I feel we play more balance when Yildiz is on the 10 rather than when he's on the wing. Is it something that Igor does? I don't think he does that. How shall I put it, deliberately? But I think it's Kenan's nature to move out to the wing, because he's trying to feel that ball, and he feels that if the midfield can't bring the ball to me, I'll just go out wide on the wing and try to get the ball from there. But it's a knife that cuts at both ends, because if he stays in the middle, he'll get those balls, he'll get that space which he needs to provide an assist or an attacking shot or whatever. So I think Tudor needs to be clear with him on that as well. I think they need to communicate with each other a bit more about his positioning during the game.
And this is like the second opening Champions League match in a row. Last year he did the same thing against PSV. That corner of the box, that shot that's his sweet spot. He loves that. I think so. It could just be him doing that as well. I don't know.
Let's switch gears to the last topic on our what went well section before we get to Negative Nancy's favorite section of what didn't. We saw the attacking trident of Yildiz, David, and Openda. Personally, I think Yildiz was spending way too much time out wide to really show us the full link-up potential. But, Frederic, from what you saw from David and Openda together up top, David dropping further deep, Openda making those runs in the channel, David finishing with, 15 of 17 passing, which in, 59 minutes? Pretty involved for a striker. Openda, 9 of 12 passing, 23 touches. Did you see potential in the interplay between those two, and if we could get Yildiz more centrally, the interchange between those three?
I think definitely there's a future in that setup and that link up. I think they did very well, also considering the fact it was Openda's first game. He's been here 2 weeks, with an international break in between. We have David, who's also not, our ancien or the oldest player to grace our pitches. So he's also, still getting used to whatever. And you could see them communicating without words, verbally or non-verbally. They found each other pretty well. And I think if we give them a bit of time and we can depend on a coach that can fine tune the mechanics between the two, and like you said, maybe make it happen that Yildiz plays more in the center, I think we're bound to see some beautiful things. And it doesn't just reflect on the players themselves, but I could see a Vlahovic performing better on let's say a Panda's position when need be. So I think there's possibility there, but in order for that to happen, we have to have a more stable midfield. And like I said, we'll get to that, but I think the link up between Yildiz Openda and David is something that could very well work, but we need to put in some effort.
We're going to transition to the what didn't work. And I think before we do that, I do have a question, Damiano. In the Inter post-game episode, I said that Tudor doesn't deserve credit for the impact his subs had. They were too late, and they were largely obvious subs correcting his horrendous starting 11. Do you think that Tudor does deserve credit in this game, though, with subbing earlier and considering the impact that the subs had on this game, getting Locatelli in for more balance in the midfield, Dusan with his performance off the bench, João Mario getting an assist off the bench as well? Or do you think this is another matter of Tudor missed the buck early and was just correcting his own mistakes?
I mean, I don't really want to harp on Tudor too much, but at the same time, I mean, dude, I don't understand. I mean, it was obvious that the starting lineup was not working. I was at halftime screaming, "Please take Koop off the pitch." He was driving me nuts.
That's why I brought this up. This will segue into
you want to talk negative Nancy's? I got it coming.
Yeah. Well, let's talk Tudor and then we'll get to Koop.
I mean, João Mario seems to bring off the bench a lot of positivity. He's really we're moving the ball. We're very good on the ball with, João Mario is doing a great job off the bench, but it's and Dusan is a whole nother player off the bench. I must say that unbelievable off the bench, and you can't start Dusan because if you start Dusan, he's not happening. It's not the same result. However, starting 11, I would have some changes in my starting 11. That's all I would say. I mean, yeah.
I'm pretty sure, look, listeners, y'all are probably much better at social media than we are. I'm pretty sure you could come up with some great memes for Dusan when he starts versus Dusan off the bench. Please come up with some good memes for that. Tag Turin Giants on Instagram because there is, I think, endless material and opportunity there. Please do that for us. Okay, we're getting into we're finally getting into negative Nancy land. We're putting on our grumpy hats. Frederick's excited. You can see a little pep in his step through the camera. And we must start with what Damiano queued us up with. Everyone's favorite midfielder, Koopmeiners. Damiano, we saw him playing in a deeper role, a role personally I felt he is more suited to play than the one we saw against Inter. How would you rate his performance today?
2. And I mean, that's being positive. I mean, he's slow, the side-to-side passing, nothing upfield. It drives me up a freaking wall. And maybe I came into this negative. I'm thinking, I see Koopmeiners in the starting lineup. Heaven forbid, why the hell is he in the starting lineup? I don't understand. Maybe he'll do something good, but I came into this a little negative already. He actually proved me right. I mean, come on. There was nothing up the middle. We couldn't do anything up the middle. His passing was 5 yards to the left, 5 yards to the right, backwards. And he's slow as dog shit. I mean, we couldn't get, I think that really disabled our offense going forward in the first half and until he got off the pitch. We were not getting forward. And he comes off the pitch. Granted, there was other changes made. But we were getting up and we scored a lot more goals. I mean, we were getting up the pitch and attacking more with him off. Locatelli showed a huge difference. There was a game-changing difference in the midfield once he came on.
Damiano, towards the end of last season, you and I had a conversation in an episode where I asked you whether you were done with Mr. Koopmeiners. I will ask you again in the beginning stages of this young season.
Ask his veins.
I was laughing. I was laughing throughout that entire response from Damiano. For folks not on video, veins were popping out of places. I didn't even know veins existed in Damiano's face as he was talking about Koopmeiners' play today. And sorry, it was funny to me. Okay, that's why I was laughing in the background like a little boy. But Damiano, are you done with Coop?
And just to be clear, I gave him another chance this year. I was done with them last year. I saw Atalanta. Oh, maybe okay. First couple games, maybe okay. Okay, he's not too bad. But now, yeah, after this game, I'm done with them again. I mean, well, granted, this performance was atrocious. And I mean, he was super slow. We were so unproductive with him. And I just was like, at halftime, I was screaming, get him the hell off the pitch.
Now, there was maybe one performer on the pitch worse than Koopmeiners. And Frederic, you have never been a fan of this player, ever. A head is in hands, ladies and gentlemen, just listening. He already knows. Would you mind talking about our keeper for a short minute?
I've been watching Juventus for a very, very long time now. I'm running up on my, 38 years of following Juventus. I'm 42, by the way. I have never in my life, in all these years, coming from the jersey with Ariston on it, that type of beat, I have never seen a goalkeeper that is such a disgrace to our jersey as he is. And I know I'm going to get hate for it. I know maybe I'm overstepping my bounds.
Well, back it up. Look. I mean, that's a strong statement, but back it up.
We have a history of keepers that win us points. And that's basically also the job of a goalkeeper. You need to prevent the other team from scoring. If you score more goals than the other team does, you have won. It's as simple as that. And I have not seen Di Gregorio winning points for us. I can't remember a single game where I said, well, whew, that was a close one. Good luck we had Di Gregorio in goal because, I mean, you could have said that for Peruzzi. You could have said that Buffon, Szczesny even. You can't say that with Di Gregorio. Every time he comes out, I literally, my heart skips a beat because aerial balls, he sucks. There was a ball, I can't remember. I think it was the first half. He came out. He should have just, picked it out of the sky. But no, my man decided to fumble it and do whatever with it and make it like a circus act.
But this wasn't a matter of aerial balls, okay?
No.
And the problem today was
the Dortmund player in the head.
He did. Well, I mean, on one hand, Frederic, we had Kobel on the other side who'd made two beautiful saves. The Turin save in the first half, and then the Yildiz save off the post in the second. Yep. That doesn't help Di Gregorio. But I think your complaint are those middle two goals. First goal, I don't think he had a chance. He didn't really dive for it, but I don't think he had a chance. The penalty, you can't blame the keeper for a penalty. No. But those middle two, especially the third one, beating near post, that is unacceptable, isn't it?
You can't concede like that as a professional goalkeeper. You just can't. And even the second goal, I mean, he dives down. All he needed to do was stretch his arms. He didn't even do that. I mean, like, it baffles me to that extent, and I wasn't the biggest fan of him, but it baffles me that you as a goalkeeper don't command that authority within your own area with aerial balls, but you don't even have the reactiveness, the awareness to properly choose the angle and go for the ball. Granted, he may have not made that save, but at least go for it. You know where the play is going to shoot, and it's in your own corner. I mean, you're blocking that corner, yet the ball still goes in. To me, that's unacceptable. And whereas the keeper of Dortmund, he gained them a point by those two amazing saves, we lost partially due to Di Gregorio not standing where he should be standing. And if I had the chance, I'd take, the little stool that Bonucci had during the Porto game where he sat on. I'd just place that in goal because I mean I'm honestly at a loss for words. I really find Di Gregorio objectively a poor goalkeeper. There's nothing in which he excels, in my opinion.
So
What is
so
he doing there?
yeah, Damiano, why don't you respond to that? I mean, do you agree? Or do
I
you think
think I'm
these
gonna.
last two games have just
I'm.
been more outlier scenarios in terms of concessions?
I mean, it's better than Jan Sommer. I mean, that's for sure. And I'm going to be the protagonist on this one. I think we're just going to chalk this up to maybe a bad game because those two middle goals were pretty atrocious. I think that he didn't have a chance on two of those goals, like you said, Zach. And I think in the game against Inter, I mean, those were three goals. You just can't do anything. I'll be the protagonist as a keeper. I think we're just happy. I think as a protagonist, I think we're just gonna. I think I'm just gonna say we're lucky with Buffon. We had Buffon. We're spoiled for this. As Juve fans, I think I chalk it up to a bad game.
Yeah, I mean, what's the saying when we play teams that are sort of provincial sides? What do we say that their goalkeepers go prime Buffon against us? Frederic, it's fair to say that nobody's saying that their goalkeeper goes prime Di Gregorio against us. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I hate to be that guy to kick a guy when he's down, because I'm pretty sure that the Gregorio will reflect on this game and come to the conclusion that he had a subpar game, which I hope he does. But in all fairness, I mean, can we push him to be a better keeper? And you can argue that, "Well, he was the best keeper in the league when we bought him," and that might as well all be true. But he hasn't made any progress since. Like, it's not like he's arrived since last week. He still needs to adjust, or he needs to adapt. I don't see him getting any better. And whereas I can see it with granted not the last two games, but with a Turan, we can definitely see it with a Bremer. These are guys that have grown. We've invested in them. They got their minutes. They've grown, and they win us points. Kenan as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
So
I like Di Gregorio, Frederic, and so I'm not reining it. I'm not on your level of well, I guess disgust in terms of his presence in the team sheet. I think this was a bad game. Like with Tudor last game, I said he had a bad game. It's not to, in my mind, mark some sort of failure on the player's part. Everyone has bad games. Locatelli had a good season against Sassuolo last year, just had an absolute horrid game where not Sassuolo, I forget. Parma, excuse me, where he just let in two goals. These things happen. So we'll just kind of have to bookmark it and see if it becomes a trend. Yeah. I think with a
do you
goalkeeper's
think?
perspective, sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted your opinion, Zach, on this. Do you think that if we, as a team, would look proactively for another goalkeeper in terms of what we can afford? I'm not speaking about the Donnarummas or whatever. If we were proactively looking for a keeper, do you think that with a fair budget that we can obtain a better keeper, or a keeper that would make us feel safe? Because we talk about our defensive blunders at times, but I also feel that these defensive blunders are also due to the fact that our defenders are not as confident in our goalkeeper. I think that's something that doesn't help. And I was just wondering, because we're spending, hey, Zigrova, Conceição, sure, let's bring in Openda, let's bring in David. I mean, all good and well, but shouldn't we look at that goalkeeper position too? Because Perrin's not getting any younger. He's a fine goalkeeper. He's our number two. He's good to be a number two for now. But shouldn't we have a more prominent point-winning keeper at this point if we want to evolve as a team?
I don't agree with that. I think you, as a team that wants to win everything, that needs to win everything, you always have to be looking out for opportunities to elevate your team. I mean, we see this in the Premier League team all the time, where someone will bring in a keeper and then they'll buy a keeper the next year who's better or better fits. And that's just that hyper competitive world that they live in. I think we need to do the same. Get players in to compete for spots, make yourself better, and the better one's going to play, and the other one's gets shown the door. So I have no problem if we have the opportunity to bring in a keeper for a reasonable fee to get him in here and say, y'all are going to compete. And by November, whichever one of you is performing better is the starter and the other one's going to sit the bench.
But who would you bring in?
Well, I mean, that's a separate concern. I mean, there's a lot of keepers out there. I think for Frederick's point, at least, I think you're getting at, what my faith was in Di Gregorio. I don't think we need to be looking for a keeper. I don't think I think this performance today was more of an outlier than the standard for Di Gregorio. And I think he absolutely has the ability to grow into further grow into a better keeper for us. But like I said, I mean, for Juventus, I think for pretty much every position except maybe Yildiz's or Bremer. I mean, we have to play with three center backs, so I guess that doesn't really affect Bremer too much. But we always need to be looking to be better at every position and have people compete for those spots.
I just got an interesting text, by the way. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay, go ahead.
I was talking on one of the episodes of The Scoop, and I think we discussed with Beppe too about that French goalkeeper.
Yeah, Guilherme.
That we
Bustos.
almost got him in, but we didn't, lack of time and whatever. And my sources texted me saying, I think our good friend Frank Comoli is gonna visit some French keepers the coming next week.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I stand by what I said. I like Di Gregorio, but you have to perform. This is Juventus. Yeah, this isn't Monza. You have to perform. And so I'm totally fine bringing in competition for spots if it's reasonable. Let's talk about team defense, though, because, in general, some of these shots that Di Gregorio was facing were from guys, both in this game and in the Inter game, where our team seemed confused and lost. And opposing players had a lot of space at the top of the box to fire in their shots. So while we can talk about Di Gregorio, especially on that third goal, if not both the second and the third, some of the shots he's facing, I think, are maybe more so the fault of our team defending falling apart. And I'm going to take it in two bits. Damian, I'm going to go to you first, because you had mentioned offline that our midfield seemed at times to just lose their positioning or lose their mind. What did you think about the team defending in both of these games, Inter and today, from our midfield? How did they do? Was it their fault? What went wrong or what went right, I guess?
I think against Inter, our midfield was too far back and gave too much space right at the top of the box. This game, we looked really disorganized in the midfield defensively, I thought. I didn't think that we just didn't look. We gave it too much space and we just did not look organized. We looked lost a little bit in the midfield this game against Dortmund.
Do you think that was because Locatelli wasn't in there coordinating with Thuram and maybe some of the guys around him? Do you think that was maybe because we set up with three strikers, so to speak? I mean, what do you think is the cause of that? Do you think it's because they don't understand Tudor's directions?
I think that, Openda, David really applied good pressure up top. Like when Dortmund was playing out the back. In the middle of the park, though, once it kind of Dortmund crossed midfield, in particular, David and Koopmeiners, there was the communication. I don't know. I felt like there was just confusion. Once they crossed midfield. And could be because, I don't know, because maybe they're new guys David and Openda, but I don't think it was necessarily their fault. I think it was more so just confusion in the midfield because we just looked very disorganized and gave Dortmund.
Also,
go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt, man. Hats off to Kovac, the Dortmund coach, because he fairly quickly saw that if Dortmund applied pressure not on our defenders but on our midfield, and we get these scrappy balls with a lot of space opening up. And that's also the way that they became a bit more dangerous, especially in the second half, because you saw Koopmeiners going out of position, Thuram equally, because Thuram was at a certain point was just chasing the ball and was not, looking at his man or whatever. And then you have like a sort of scrap battle in midfield where a ball just pops out of nowhere, space is opening up, and of course Dortmund with their fast-paced forwards, with Adeyemi being one of them, they got the chance to counterattack and they started from out the midfield. And that wouldn't happen if they were applying pressure to our defenders, because a Bremer is not so foolish to lose a ball there. Whereas Thuram, who had a very bad game, in my opinion, I'm always pro Thuram, but today he was awful. And Koop, they were virtually nowhere. And I think that Kovac, did very well. And Tudor was struggling to find an answer to that. And that made us lose a lot of important balls, especially second balls in the midfield scrap battle.
So let's stay with you, Frederic, and transition to our center backs, because it wasn't just our midfield that seemed lost. There were a few times, and look, Bremer is world class in my opinion, but he at times today, I don't know, was it just me where his positioning just seemed a little bit poor, especially. I mean, it's just all of our center backs, especially on that last series that led to the penalty. I mean, they were all over the place. What's going on with our back line?
Well, I think, and in my opinion, and I think the problem is bifold. First issue for me is that we play with three in the back. I think playing with a three-man defense, with the players that we have, with their capabilities, I think we're better off, in my opinion, switching to a flat four. That's one thing that I feel very strongly about. The second thing is, and you could see it in the inner game and today as well, we're trying to apply some sort of zone marking, but once that, the pressure's on the defense, or at least our defensive midfielders, we all go into panic mode. Every bit of communication, every agreement that we made during practice regarding that zone defending is just tossed out the window. You get players from the opposite side that are getting just a pass. With the Adeyemi goal, we rolled out the red carpet saying, "Hey, have a shot, why don't you?" Because he didn't do it thus far. I mean, we have to make it fair. And so the zone marking isn't working as it's supposed to be working. So we need to either get our stuff together and make sure that that zone marking will work. And I'm fairly confident that it will work better when we play with a flat four. Or
I don't think you're going to get that though. I mean, this is Tudor. He doesn't
no,
play.
no, no,
He
no,
doesn't
no,
play
no,
flat
no.
four.
I don't think
Then we
so
got to be
either.
tighter
But
in the midfield.
then, yeah, especially that we have to have our midfielders support our defense line a bit more better. We need to communicate better, and we just need to switch, I think, to man marking. I think that's the best that we can do, and have maybe our defensive midfielders hang back and let them provide zonal coverage, but let our flat three defenders pull out, that man marking, because we're very, I mean, aerial duels, you can't win against Bremer. Man to man, you can't win against Bremer. Even Gatti, very feisty, very physical, very difficult man to man to get away from him. So we have the capabilities to be very tight in defense, but the zone marking is basically demasculating us a bit.
I mean, when you think about the Inter game, well, frankly, all of the games, we've looked really shaky in transition. I think, and I don't know, Damian. The question is going to be whether you think it stems from the midfield first or the center backs first. But you see a lot of panic in these transitional moments. Both Çalhanoğlu goals against Inter, our midfield had dropped back, almost as though they were maybe compensating for our center backs, giving him the space to shoot. You saw the second and third goal today. Second goal, Koop and Thuram both backing off, allowing for the shooting lane, and then the third goal, Thuram losing the ball. So then he could not affect the defensive play, leaving the space for those shots. That of course Di Gregorio should have done better, but midfielders, I think, leaving that space open. Is that midfielders failing individually? Is that midfielders scared of what's going on behind them? How did you interpret their what's now been at least 4 goals have been in my opinion due to midfielders being out of position and leaving shooting lanes open.
I mean, I think like from granted, I play like, keeper on like a Sunday league, and from a keeper's perspective, if the ball is like if in the box, even like near the top of the box, in the box, and the midfield is there, the midfielder attack the ball. Please attack the ball, get to the ball, close that space down, because it makes it easier for me to either get a side to side or whatever. So I think that applies. I would apply that to this, our midfield, giving that space. It's not beneficial for anybody, like, really, you know what I mean? Like, it's not really our defense. It's hard for the defense to really do anything. You got to go to the ball and close down that gap. They must go attack the ball better, especially near the box or in the box.
So you're putting it more on the midfielders than the center backs?
The center back, yeah. It could also be when we're talking in transition, though. Our like wing backs, or our the right back, left back, push, like in particular, like Kelly or Kalulu, and so that does leave a little bit of vulnerability on that side. But again, granted, those goals come from the middle, right at the top of the box, and that's the midfield for sure.
Frederic, Tudor's not known like Allegri is for being this like staunch defensive minded coach. His teams concede because when they want to venture forward and he wants to venture forward, they'll give up goals on the break. Is this something that as Juventus fans, we just kind of have to accept? Maybe not 4 goals against, because that I don't think anyone will accept, but are these types of goals the ones that we can expect to reasonably see throughout the season because that's just the way Tudor has his team play?
You can
or no?
That. No, you can expect that to a certain extent, because if we look at Tudor's history, the games that he played, and the results that he obtained, you could see that it's a coach that lays a bit more emphasis on the attacking side rather than the defending side. However, what I feel is very noticeable is that in between the pause moments within a game, or when the players come out for the second half, you never see defenders and midfielders communicating with each other. I'm used to a Chiellini who, talks with Barzagli, talks with Bonucci, talks with Vidal, Marquisio, whatever, or just, stands there shouting, giving out directions. I feel that we don't have that type of communication yet. I also feel that Bremer is not the Bremer on top form yet, so we need to give him a bit of time, especially after that injury. But I still feel that we need somebody that commands that bridge between defense and midfield, and takes care of that communication, and just points out, even with a corner kick, like, hey, you guys stand there, move up a bit. Oh, I'll take this guy. You stand by the second post, whatever. Just some bit of organization so that people can get used to it. They know what to expect or what's expected from them. And we can prevent these kind of, roll out red carpet, take a shot actions. Because if you have a couple of players that have a good shot, like Adeyemi showed us today, and Çalhanoğlu in the injury game, it's going to cost you points, because we don't have, in my opinion, also a goalkeeper that can make miraculous saves at certain points. So it's a lose-lose situation that we need to handle and address ASAP, in my opinion.
Or goalkeeper with communication too, because like the goalkeeper should be communicating to the center backs and the defensive backs to organize them as well.
It's crazy that you say this, because all those guys have played together. Like, it's not like any of them are new signings. They've all been playing together. Sure. So that's a little bit of a shame. Alrighty. Did we miss anything? Anything else you want to mention as we sort of bring this episode to a close from today's 4-4 draw with Dortmund?
I would.
What would you like to say, Frederic? You have.
I would like to say to my good friend Igor, who's also listening, together with Kamoli in a room somewhere, give Thuram like a game off. I know he's desperately needed, but give him some rest, because you could see today. I mean, he had an off game against Inter, which is definitely not something to be ashamed about, because
until he didn't.
He proved his worth. But today you could see that it was not the same. He was very discoordinated. He seemed very sluggish, by his standards. You didn't see this run up the pitch, ball by the feet, dribble one guy, do whatever, take a shot, or give the pass. So I think he's a bit tired, and you should be, because he's the only midfielder now that has been constantly playing. And in a midfield composed of two people, it can be very, very, very heavy, to take on that role and to perform game after game. So my advice to Igor is, give our good friend Kevin a rest against Verona.
I got some advice for Igor too. Do not put Koopmeiners in that role. Do not put Koopmeiners in that role, please, God. Don't do this.
All right. Well, so I mean, we kind of actually, since we're imparting wisdom, at the end of this episode, we've had two big games this week. We've had the Inter game. We won in dramatic fashion. There were mistakes there, but we won. We can at least walk away with that. Today, 4-4, a lot of mistakes. We're not really happy with the draw, but we'll take it. What do you guys hope to see in one sentence? Damiano first. What do you hope to see in Verona this weekend?
3 points and a must win. At least 2-0.
Dominance for 90 minutes.
And I say a clean freaking sheet for Juventus, because I love scoring 4 goals. I'm sick of conceding 7, which is just unbelievable. All right, Frederic, Damiano, and everybody listening, thank you all for your time. We really appreciate it. We love your feedback as well, whether it be in the comments on YouTube telling us how brilliant or stupid we are, or on Instagram in DMs. And look, I'm telling you right now, I want to see some memes. Dusan who starts versus Dusan off the bench. Please tag us.
Can we not give out like a Turin Giants t-shirt for the coolest meme that we receive? I think Farhad would be okay with that, don't you think?
I cannot promise anything. I will talk to Farhad, who's still, by the way, in Azerbaijan. So there is a little bit of a time difference there, folks. But I will. You send us some cool memes, you best bet I will advocate heavily for us giving out some swag for engagement in that regard. So please hit us up that way. Crazy games this week, guys. So I thank you, gentlemen, as well as all of our listeners, for joining us. We really appreciate it. We will be doing, we already have scheduled a post game after Verona. So hopefully all 3 of us and all of you get our wish this weekend. And until then, ladies and gentlemen, as always, Forza Juve.
In the middle of a railroad track, looked around and I knew there was no turning back. My mind raced and I thought, what could I do? And I knew there was no help from you. Sound of the drums beating my heart. The thunder of guns tore me apart. You've been thunderstruck.